everyone, welcome back to Southern Gal True Crime. Today is our Missing Person Monday video for the week, and today I have, I believe, 6 missing persons from Louisiana to share with you. The first one is Donald Ray Atkins II, and Donald went missing on September 2nd, 2018 from West Monroe, Louisiana. He is classified as endangered missing. He is a biracial Hispanic white male. He was 35 years old at the time he went missing. He will be 41 years old today. At the time he went missing, he was 6 foot, 220 pounds. Just says last known clothing was dressy clothes. Black hair, hazel eyes. His nickname is Donnie. He has a circular, dark-colored birthmark on his right cheek next to his nose. A tattoo of 2 bulldogs fighting on the left side of his chest, and a tattoo of praying hands on the back of his right shoulder. So Donnie was last seen leaving his brother's residence in the 2400 block of Jonesboro Road in West Monroe, Louisiana on September 2nd, 2018. He has never been heard from again. After his disappearance, his truck and wallet with cash were found at a business in Beal, Louisiana. In January of 2019 and again in August of 2019, police conducted searches of a property on May Row, which is also in West Monroe. They had tips that his body was buried there. Cadaver dogs did indicate the presence of human remains on the site, but the searches turned up nothing, and authorities got information that his body had been removed from that property. In July of 2020, authorities announced 5 suspects had been charged in his case. Daniel Barrett, Thomas Davis, Joseph Hendricks, and Paige Williams were charged with 1 count each of second-degree homicide, and Lindsay Phillips was charged with being an accessory after the fact to second-degree homicide. But all the suspects were released because there was insufficient evidence to take the case to trial. Foul play is suspected in this case due to the circumstances involved. So if you have any information regarding Donnie's case, please call the Ouachita Parish Sheriff's Office at 318-329-1200. And I do have some additional information on his case. This is from newstar.com, and it is from July of 2020. It says arrest warrant. Advance my slide. It says arrest warrant provides new details in West Monroe homicide and missing person investigation. An arrest warrant for suspects in a homicide investigation involving a 2018 missing person complaint provides additional details of the alleged homicide. According to a warrant filed for Paige Williams, age 26, the Ouachita Parish Sheriff's Office received a complaint about a missing person, Donald Atkins, in mid-September of 2018. Investigators learned Atkins was staying with a friend in the 2400 block of Jonesboro Road. The friend said he had not seen Atkins in several days. He said he remembered Atkins having a fight with his girlfriend over the phone. The next morning, Atkins was gone, but his wallet, vehicle, and keys remained at the house. A cell phone tower trace for the date of September 2nd, 2018, showed Atkins' phone suffered a, quote, traumatic event, ranging from either being submerged in water to being shattered. The hit was in the proximity of 2400 Jonesboro Road. After the complaint was filed, OPSO began receiving Crime Stoppers tips regarding the disappearance. These identified Thomas Davis, Joseph Hendricks Jr., and Williams as responsible for the death and burial of Atkins. Tipsters also said that Atkins was giving what they call a hot shot or a lethal dose of illegal substances. A search warrant was executed in January of 2019 for property on May Road. 6 cadaver dogs issued positive alerts for human remains, but a search could not be conducted at the time due to flooding. Investigators contacted Williams after the search. She said she was at home with Atkins, Davis, and Hendricks, and a person she did not know. Williams said they were all using illegal substances together, and she left the room with Hendricks. Williams and Davis later came in the room, and she was asked to leave. She was later told to leave the home, and she became suspicious that Davis and Hendricks were in the room with a girl. According to the warrant, Williams told investigators she forced her way into the room and saw Davis with Atkins. And Atkins appeared to be deceased, and Hendricks allegedly confirmed that he was. Williams and Davis later told her to keep her mouth shut or she would get it too. In January of 2019, Davis was on a call from jail with his sister, and she allegedly asked if he talked to anyone, as she had heard that Williams and Hendricks provided statements to investigators. The warrant states David asked his sister to, quote, make sure the body was not found at the property, end quote. And when the sister said a body was not found, Davis allegedly sounded relieved. In August 2019, the property was searched, but no body was found. Additional tips received at this time connected police with another person at the home the night of the alleged death, Lindsay Phillips. Phillips said she was also told to go to a different room on the night to load more needles with Williams. When they left, Atkins was alive, according to her. Phillips said a short time later, Davis, Hendricks, and a fourth suspect, Daniel Barnett, carried Atkins from a room and out the back door of the home. She said that Atkins appeared lifeless and a car started outside. Phillips said she and Barrett left to get away from Davis. Barrett later spoke with investigators and said he was at the home but left early while Atkins was still alive. Hendricks, William, and Davis are in custody on charges of second-degree homicide. Barrett is being sought on the same charges, and Phillips has also been booked on one count of accessory after the fact to second-degree homicide. So once again, anyone with information as to the whereabouts of Barrett is asked to contact the OPSO at 318-329-1200, and it says the investigation is continuing. Right, next, we have John Michael Bayham Jr. Let me get his information. John Michael Bayham Jr. Went missing on December 23rd, 1990 from Oakdale, Louisiana, classified as endangered missing. He is a white male. He was 21 years old at the time he disappeared. He would be 55 years old today. At the time he disappeared, he was 5'8" to 5'10", 190 to 200 pounds. He was last seen wearing a red and blue flannel shirt, a red undershirt, new blue jeans, cowboy boots, and a Western style belt with the name Mike on it. He has dark brown hair and blue eyes. He goes by his middle name Michael or the nickname Mike, and most accounts refer to him as Michael Bayham. He is missing 3 teeth and has a removable bridge for them. So Mike was last seen in Oakdale, Louisiana on December 23rd, 1990. He was en route to meet a friend at a car wash in town. On the way, he stopped at the Bayou store, leaving it and driving away at around 7:30 p.m. He never arrived at the car wash, which is only a short distance away, and he has never been heard from again. At 9:30 p.m., a witness saw his pickup truck near the Calcasieu River Bridge on Highway 10 west of Oakdale. The lights were on, and then the witness saw them go out. The next morning, Bayham's father found his truck on a dirt road under the bridge. The keys were in the ignition on the on position. The battery was dead, and Bayham's coat and his firearm were inside the truck. But there were no signs of a struggle or any other indication as to what had happened. He had just cashed a paycheck, and he was carrying around $1,500 in cash, and he had been drinking the night of his disappearance. Bayham's father found Oakdale resident Paul A. Kilgore and another man were sleeping in a car nearby when he found his son's truck. Police immediately questioned them, but both men denied having seen or heard anything. Kilgore moved to Michigan a short time later, and in 1998, a jail inmate implicated him in Mike's murder. The inmate had been only 13 years old at the time of Mike's disappearance and said that he went to the authorities because his conscience was bothering him. He led police to the Dead Man's Lake area where he said Mike's body had been buried. Authorities excavated the site. They found nothing, but based on the inmate's information, in July of that year, Kilgore was arrested in Michigan for first-degree homicide and first-degree robbery. However, a jury refused. They found insufficient evidence to indict him, and he was released. Mike is a 1987 graduate of Oakdale High School. He has a younger brother and sister. He was working in Texas at the time of his disappearance, but he had come back to Louisiana to spend the Christmas holidays with his family. They stated he was not the kind of person who would have run away, particularly without his coat. They said it was only 17 degrees the night he disappeared, and he also left nearly $4,000 cash or $4,000 behind in his bank account. Foul play obviously is suspected in this case, which remains unsolved. So if you have any information regarding Michael Bayham Jr.'s case, please call the Allen Parish Sheriff's Office at 337-639-4353. All right, next we have Crystal Marie Beal. Crystal has been missing since August 6, 2018 from Caddo Parish, Louisiana. Once again, classified endangered missing. She is a white female. She was 28 years old at the time that she disappeared. She will be 34 years old now. At the time she disappeared, she was 5'5", 150 pounds. It does say she has a history of substance abuse, particularly M. She has brown hair and blue eyes. Her ears are pierced. She has a tattoo on her lower back. One of her front teeth is chipped, and she previously fractured the big toe on her right foot. So Crystal was last seen in Caddo Parish, Louisiana on August 6, 2018. She had been arrested in Arkansas and transported to the Caddo Correctional Center on charges of resisting an officer and illegal possession of stolen things. That night, a friend did bail her out of jail. Beal posted on her Facebook page on August 8th, and after that, a date she was never seen or heard from again. Another woman, Kylie Hartman, disappeared from Shreveport, Louisiana, a month later on September 10th. Both she and Beal are from Shreveport. They do have criminal histories, and they did run in the same social circles. In spite of this, police have found no evidence that the women knew each other or that their disappearances are related. Crystal's family believes that she is deceased. It would be uncharacteristic of her to abandon her son or to go for this long without any contact with law enforcement. She does have active warrants out for her arrest, and the circumstances of her disappearance are unclear, and her case remains unsolved. So if you have any information regarding Crystal's case, please contact the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office at 318-681-0700. I do have some additional information article on Crystal. This article is from June of 2021. The headline, Where is Crystal Beal? Shreveport mother shares desperate plea to find missing daughter. The mother of a Caddo Parish woman missing for years is once again sharing a desperate plea to find out what happened to her daughter. Crystal Beal was last seen on August 7, 2018, when she was allegedly dropped off in Shreveport's Highland neighborhood. The Caddo Sheriff's Office continues to investigate, but detectives have said there have not been any new clues or information. In May, the Sheriff's Office renewed their plea for tips and information. Her mother continues to press for answers and shares the links that she's gone to try and find her. Her mother, Melody Beal, says it's been almost 3 years now and no one has heard a word from her, nothing on social media. We just want to know what happened to her, good, bad, or indifferent. We need some closure. She has brothers and she has a son. We just want this to be over. Melody reported Crystal missing on November 18th of 2018. She was 30 years old at the time, and Melody is now raising Crystal's 9-year-old son. He worries about his mama because he was old enough when she left to know that she was his mama. When he asks, is my mama deceased? I don't know what to tell him. I can't say yeah because I don't know for sure, Bill said. Somebody knows and they can go tell somebody. They won't get in trouble. Nobody has to know who said it. If someone would just tell somebody, Crime Stoppers, the TV station, somebody. Melody said her daughter did struggle with substance addiction and wonders if her case is taken less seriously because of it. She says, quote, I wonder if they're looking for her at all. Crystal they're looking for her as hard as they are looking for someone else. Just because she did substances and had problems, it shouldn't matter. I agree 100%. After so long with nothing to go on, Melody has taken it upon herself to investigate her daughter's disappearance, following her own leads and even going to known dealers' houses. She says, I've tried everything. I've beat on doors. I've talked to people. I've tried social media. Even when it cost her, about a year ago, Melody permanently injured her leg. She says, I was at someone's house thinking I could find her or find out some information and literally fell, and I've been kind of crippled ever since. Melody says she's even had to leave social media. She was getting fake calls and messages from scammers demanding money in exchange for information on her missing daughter. She says it's too much for me mentally. It's just too much, and too many people out there telling falsehoods that lead me off in directions that I don't need to go. So I've backed off from it, and I'm just in limbo. I just wait. At this point, Melody just wants closure for her family. She says if she is deceased, if I could get her body back so we could be done and have some closure, because our life has been permanently changed and we don't know how to get it back. Melody has submitted her DNA in case a body is ever found and she can be matched to her family. And anyone, once again, with information on Crystal's disappearance is urged to contact the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. All right. Oh, I forgot to advance the slide. That was the article I just read on Crystal. And next we have it mentioned in Crystal's information that Kylie Christine Hartman had also disappeared and that they were known to run in the same circles. So I did want to share Kylie with you also, get her information. One second. This is Kylie Christine Hartman. She went missing on September 10th, 2018 from Shreveport, Louisiana. Once again, endangered missing. A white female. She was 21 years old at the time she disappeared. She will be 27 years old today. At the time she disappeared, she was 5'7", 150 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She does have a tattoo of dice on her left forearm and a tattoo of a date in Roman numerals on her right forearm, and her ears are pierced. Kylie was last seen in Shreveport, Louisiana on September 10th, 2018. She was with her ex-boyfriend and was last seen leaving the Break and Run, which was a bar on Mansfield Road. She was last seen leaving with the ex-boyfriend, and after that, she has never been heard from again. Once again, another woman, Crystal Beal, one we talked about previously, disappeared from Cato Parish a month earlier on either August 6th or August 8th. Both she and Hartman are from Shreveport. They do have criminal histories, ran in the same social circles. Once again, in spite of this, police found no evidence that they knew each other or that their disappearances are related. Hartman did know Zachary Hebert, a 37-year-old Shreveport man who also disappeared in September of 2018. His body was found in a shallow grave in a pasture in Benson, Louisiana on October 31st of that year. The COD could not be determined due to the state of the remains. Investigators have not said whether Hebert's homicide is related to Hartman's disappearance, and Hartman's family believes that she is deceased, as previously she had never gone for more than a few weeks without contacting her loved ones. The circumstances of her disappearance are unclear, and her case remains unsolved. So if you have any information in Kylie's case, please call the Shreveport Police Department at 318-673-7020. And I do have another article about the families of both Kylie and Crystal. And this is from ktbs.com. And it is from 3 Investigates the search for Crystal and Kylie. And I don't know exactly what date it's from. But it says Melody Beal and Daisha Benjamin did not know each other a year ago. Now they are each other's support system. It's funny because I don't like girls normally, Bill said, laughing, but we've been really close. Both women say they found it difficult to talk with their families about their daughters' disappearances. I've been distant from a lot. My brothers and sisters, I'm distant. My mom and dad, I'm distant, Benjamin said. We do not have holidays anymore. Bill said we don't get together as a family because it doesn't work. Crystal Beal was 28 the last time she was seen on August 9, 2018. Benjamin's daughter, Kylie Hartman, was 21. She vanished September 10th of 2018. Both women from Shreveport do have a criminal record. Their complicated past have marred the investigations into their disappearances, challenging investigators with unreliable witnesses and a sea of unfounded rumors. Cato deputies tell 3 Investigates that they've hit multiple dead ends. All I want to know is what's happened to my daughter, Beal said. Beal describes her daughter as an outgoing person and the life of the party. She does not shy away from talking about Crystal's past. She has some addiction issues. She got on and she's not the same Crystal that she was as a child. I lost her somewhere along the way, Beal said. No, she's not a saint, and quite frankly, when we do find her, she is going to do jail time, but I'd much rather know that she is in jail than being abused or trafficked. According to the Cato Parish Sheriff's Office, which is investigating Crystal Beal's appearance, she was arrested in Arkansas and transported as an inmate to the Cato Correctional Center on August 6th. She was being held on charges of resisting an officer and illegal possession of stolen things. Captain Bobby Herring said Beal's friend posted her bail that night. Herring would not disclose the friend's name out of concern that it would compromise the ongoing investigation. We followed several leads along with that bonding out. We know who she left with, and the next day we know where she went. Generalized in Shreveport, somewhere in the Highland area, Herring said. From there, we can't find a single witness or a single person that has seen her since. On August 8th, a post appeared from Beal's Facebook account. It says, quote, I just don't understand how all these people keep just poof and dying in Shreveport, known and loved by plenty of all kinds of people. No, they might not be straight A guys with some of the easy street childhood, but I promise they are some of the best guys I've even met. I'm so lost on how to feel. You can never win in Cato, the post read. And no other posts have been made from that account since. Herring said investigators were able to follow clues south to St. Charles, where they put up flyers with Beal's photo. He said there's an entire room at the investigations division dedicated to finding her, and that deputies still question many suspects brought in on substance charges about the disappearance. He added that of all the missing person cases being handled by the Cato Parish Sheriff's Office, Beal's has the most dedicated resources. We just don't have any leads. We have exhausted everything that we could possibly do, Herring said. Crystal has an active bench warrant for missing her court date for her two most recent charges. The warrant wouldn't be the issue, Herring said. If we could reach out to Beal and everybody we spoke to, the warrant can be taken care of. We just want to make sure she's safe and accounted for if she wants to be found. That's the key. To me, that's the key statement there, if she wants to be found. Shreveport police have remained tight-lipped. The Shreveport Police Department is handling Hartman's case. There is very limited information that we are able to put forth at this point because it's an open investigation, says Shreveport Police Chief Ben Raymond. According to Benjamin, Hartman was last seen with her ex-boyfriend. They were leaving the Break and Run, a bar on Mansfield Road. Benjamin said, I don't understand why one day she's here and the next she is gone. Like Beal, Hartman does have a criminal record. Both women have a history of running from the law, and according to both of their mothers, dealt in prostitution. We're dealing with a very troubled lady who has a troubled past and has a tendency to run from her problems and hide. We just don't know if she left intentionally. We really just don't know, Herring said of Beal. In both cases, investigators say details are sparse and the criminal element has posed challenges. Rumors seem to be a problem in this case, and these rumors are repeated, Herring said. Herring said investigators have debunked many of those rumors in Beal's case, including one claiming that she was being held for ransom. We went all in on that one, Herring said. We tracked that down to be an internet hoax, and all they did was some foreigners overseas saw the social media post that she was missing and try to take advantage of it by scamming people. That just irritates me to no end and infuriates me. My personal opinion. Raymond would not elaborate on the rumors swirling around Hartman's case, but he said there have been an issue. It's the game you played when you were a kid, and you all sit in a circle and you whisper something in somebody's ear, and when it gets to the next person, to you, what they say and what you said are two completely different things. Raymond said they can actually harm our investigation to a degree. One rumor remains persistent that Beal and Hartman's disappearances are connected. They were all friends with the same people, Benjamin said, though she and Melody Beal are still not fully convinced that their daughter's cases are connected. Herring and Raymond each said their respective agencies have exchanged information on both cases. Herring said, "We have no evidence to support that Crystal Beal ever ran with Kylie. I don't know about any connections," Raymond said. Both mothers do believe that their daughters are deceased. Benjamin said Hartman would never go more than a few weeks without contacting her, and Melody Beal said it was unlike Crystal Beal to desert her son. Every week, my grandson asked me, "Is my mama deceased?" I used to say Mama's sick, but Mama can only be sick so long, Bill said. If she is deceased, it's fine. I can accept that, but I don't want to tell him that until we know. Bill added that her daughter would have likely encountered law enforcement at some point within the past year. If that were to be the case, Crystal Beal is in a national database that would alert Caddo Parish investigators. Crystal does not run, her mother said. Investigators say there is no evidence to indicate that either a woman is deceased. If we had conclusive evidence that Kylie was deceased, it would not be a missing person. It would be a homicide investigation, Raymond said. He also said, quote, "Nothing is ruled out." It's difficult, Herring said. You're in a different element of society and you're dealing with people that don't want to come forward to police. But we found in our interviews that we've gotten quite a bit of information from these people, and it's simply that whatever Crystal decided to do, she didn't include anybody in her plans. Caddo and Shreveport investigators have consulted with other nearby law enforcement agencies on the cases, and one of those agencies is investigating a homicide that could unlock answers in Hartman's disappearance. A DeSoto Parish Sheriff's deputies were called out to a pasture in the Benson community on Halloween of 2018. There, they found a shovel, a crowbar, and human bones in a shallow grave. It took more than 2 months for DNA tests to confirm that those bones belonged to Zachary Hebert, a 37-year-old from Shreveport who had been missing since September. And Hebert did know Hartman. There are some indications that there are some direct connections with Miss Hartman, said DeSoto Sheriff Jason Richardson, particularly that they went missing within 1 day of each other. It's a little red flaggy to me. Richardson said Hartman and Hebert went to some of the same places together in the days leading up to their disappearances. While there isn't much information available from Shreveport police in Hartman's case, Richardson is hopeful that investigators will come upon a wealth of information as they work to solve Hebert's homicide. Lots of paper trails and lots of different suspects, Richardson said. We have developed several leads, which have led us to be so proactive in serving these warrants and trying to find that information. So that's kind of where we're at this moment. Investigators are still working to determine a COD, which Richardson said will be difficult given the condition of Hebert's remains. While Raymond won't confirm any link between Hebert and Hartman, Richardson is willing to voice its optimism. I do believe that there's a direct connection between those two, so I do believe that information that would be garnered from any lead in one of those would definitely be relevant to the other case, Richardson said. As the neighboring law enforcement agencies continue to work together, the two mothers continue to lean on each other and plead for reliable information amid a sea of rumors. People know. You can't tell me somebody falls off the face of the earth, Melody Beal said. Somebody knows something and they need to come forward. It's been so long and I just need some kind of closure because it hurts so bad, Benjamin said. Investigators have not named suspects in either case. Both cases are still active. If you have any information that can help locate Crystal Beal, call the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office at 318-675-2170. If you have any information that can help locate Kylie Hartman, call the Shreveport Police Department at 318-673-7300. If you have any information that can lead to a suspect in Zachary Hebert's case, call the DeSoto Parish Sheriff's Office at 318-872-3956. Next, we have Albert Bloch. Albert has been missing since September 26, 2007 from Metairie, Louisiana, classified endangered missing. He is a white male, 61 years old at the time he went missing. He will be 78 if he were alive today. At the time he went missing, he was 5'11" and 160 pounds. He was last seen wearing a plaid button shirt and gray pants. It does say that he was an alcoholic. He also had a respiratory condition requiring daily medication, gray hair, and brown eyes. So Albert was last seen in the 2200 block of Homa Boulevard in Metairie at 9:45 p.m. on September 26, 2007. After that, he has never been seen or heard from again. He was reported missing on November 2nd by a caseworker at Responsibility House, which is a housing program for people who have mental illness issues or substance abuse problems, and he had been estranged from his family for years. Albert was driving a silver 1995 Volvo 850 with the Louisiana license plate number NTJ 453 at the time of his disappearance. The car was later found parked behind an apartment complex in Metairie. In December of 2007, the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office arrested one of their own former officers, Mark Hebert, and charged him with burglarizing the vehicle of a man that he had arrested for drunk driving. And a photograph is posted. That is the smaller photograph you see on the slide. There is former officer Mark Hebert. He was fired from the sheriff's office on November 24th, about a week before his arrest. He allegedly stole a person's wallet and used his credit card to buy $4,000 worth of items from a Home Depot store. Authorities believe Hebert was involved in other vehicle burglaries as well. Now, Albert was in a car wreck on August 2nd of 2007 and hospitalized for minor injuries. Hebert was the one that responded at the scene of the accident. While Albert was in the hospital, someone used his credit card to purchase a GPS device. The GPS system, as well as Albert's driver's license, credit card, and some of his blank checks were found when sheriff's officials searched Hebert's home and vehicle after his arrest. So big red flags, in my opinion, right there. In April of 2013, Hebert was charged with federal civil rights violations and 59 counts of crimes, including bank fraud, obstruction of justice, aggravated identity theft, and computer fraud. The indictment alleged that Hebert stole Albert's ATM card, checks, identification, and other documents to get his personal information, then stole money from Albert's bank accounts while Albert was still in the hospital. Then they alleged that he took the life of Albert to keep him from reporting the thefts. He hasn't actually been charged with Albert's homicide, however, and he maintains his innocence in Albert's disappearance. Hebert pleaded guilty to 7 total felony counts, including bank fraud, identity theft, and civil rights violations in November of 2013 after reaching a deal with prosecutors. In November of 2014, he was sentenced to 92 years in prison, and at the sentencing, the judge stated that she believed that Hebert was responsible for Albert's death. Albert left behind a substantial bank account, all his furniture, his vehicle, and since his disappearance, he has not cashed any of his benefit checks or refilled his prescriptions. Obviously, foul play is suspected in his case due to the circumstances involved. So if you have any information regarding Albert's case, please call the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office at 504-364-5300. And I do have an update on this. Find the article. This article is from NOLA.com. It is from July of 2014. It says, according to Judge JPSO deputy took the life of Metairie man who disappeared in 2007. A former Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office deputy Mark Hebert, a federal judge, found that a former Jefferson Parish Sheriff's deputy is responsible for the homicide of a Metairie man who has been missing since 2007. U.S. District Judge Jane Tricky Malazzo on Tuesday ruled that prosecutors had shown clear and convincing evidence that Mark Hebert killed 61-year-old Albert Bloch in the fall of 2007 after taking Bloch's wallet while Bloch wasn't incapacitated at the scene of a single car wreck. Bloch's body has never been found, and Hebert was not charged with the homicide. Instead, Hebert was charged with defrauding Bloch. He pleaded guilty to stealing thousands of dollars from Bloch's accounts using the stolen card and Bloch's checkbook. Malazzo ruled that Hebert's sentence for fraud and identity theft charges can reflect that he did commit second-degree homicide to hide his crimes. Outlining the highly circumstantial case laid out by federal prosecutors, Malazzo said the government proved Hebert took the life of Mr. Bloch and somehow disposed of his body on the evening of October 2nd or early morning hours of October 3rd while Hebert was on duty. However, she said the evidence only proved that Hebert committed second-degree homicide. Exactly how Hebert took the life of Mr. Bloch, we may never know, Malazzo said. There is no body and there is no crime scene, but there are certain scenarios that make sense. The most likely scenario, Malazzo said, was that Hebert, while on duty, pulled Bloch over somewhere near his home and Joe's Caddy Corner, which is a bar he frequented. Hebert likely handcuffed Bloch and drove him somewhere and took his life, then returned and moved Bloch's car to the parking lot where it was found during the course of a missing person investigation 2 months later. Other scenarios are possible, but under all scenarios, it is clear that Mark Hebert took the life of Albert Bloch, Malazzo said, adding, in assessing all the evidence, I cannot find a doubt to which I can assign reason. Hebert slumped in his chair, his chin almost resting on his chest, as Malazzo spoke. The former deputy and on-again, off-again bodybuilder who had bulked up to a doughy 300 pounds in 2007, looked trim in his orange prison jumpsuit. However, Hebert's lawyer, Davidson L., said Tuesday after the hearing planned to appeal the judge's ruling. While the proceedings last week resembled a homicide trial, L noted that because it was a sentencing hearing, the rules of evidence were different from an actual criminal trial, and the burden of proof was lower. At a sentencing hearing, the judge would need only be convinced that, quote, a preponderance of the evidence, essentially that it is more likely than not that Herbert took the life of Albert Bloch. At a criminal trial, the judge would have to believe Herbert's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't think they would have been able to convince a jury that Herbert took the life of Mr. Bloch, L. said. The government would have had a much harder time overcoming the burden of beyond a reasonable doubt. Malazzo began her ruling with a summary of the evidence for more than 3 days of testimony. Bloch's childhood as one of 8 children in an impoverished Pennsylvania family, his military service in Vietnam, the passing of the woman he lived with for 20 years before Katrina, and his periodic homelessness after the storm. Albert Bloch had a hard life, Malazzo began. While Mr. Bloch was homeless for some time, the evidence indicates he never failed to seek help. But, Malazzo noted, in the months before his disappearance, things were looking up for Bloch. His income more than doubled after he became eligible for disability payments, and he had received more than $40,000 for back veterans benefits. Bloch, a string of bartenders and fellow tavern regulars said, was an alcoholic who spent several hours each day nursing a few beers at bars among his fellow barflies. In July of 2007, Bloch bought a brand new car but totaled it in a single car crash a few weeks later. Herbert was the deputy who responded to the crash scene. Bloch was unconscious and was taken to the hospital, and emergency responders gave Herbert Bloch's wallet and cell phone. During testimony last week, a bartender who spoke to Bloch almost daily until he went missing in October of 2007, said Bloch had told her Herbert came to his house and returned the phone a few days after Bloch was released from the hospital. Bloch's debit card was used for multiple transactions in the ensuing weeks, mostly cash withdrawals and purchases of expensive car parts. Herbert would tell investigators looking for Bloch that he had become friends with Bloch after the car wreck, and the older man had offered to, quote, sponsor his amateur racing career. Herbert's lawyer, Davidson L., had pointed out during last week's hearing that several people who frequented bars in the West Bank, where Bloch made occasional visits, reported seeing Bloch in November. Malazzo said those witnesses either lacked credibility. One woman who took the stand and said she had seen Bloch had alcohol on her breath that afternoon that she was interviewed by a federal agent investigating Bloch's disappearance, or these witnesses could easily have been mistaken. In setting out a timeline for when Herbert likely took the life of Mr. Bloch, Malazzo noted that Herbert used Bloch's replacement debit card for transactions after October 3rd, the last time Bloch's friends reported seeing him. While this court cannot say how the debit card was removed from Mr. Bloch's person, removed it was, the judge said. After October, Bloch never again collected his disability or veterans benefits, and all the withdrawals from his accounts were fraudulent ones made by Herbert, Malazzo noted. Bloch, who suffered from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, and required daily medication, never again refilled his prescriptions or sought treatment from veterans hospitals, she said. Malazzo scheduled a sentencing hearing for September 18th. The judge noted last week that prosecutors had made, quote, informal overtures not to pursue a sentencing enhancement for homicide if Hebert would tell them what he had done with Bloch, L said. None of that never materialized because Mr. Hebert was never willing or able to provide the information the government wanted, L said. So that is the additional information regarding Mr. Bloch's case. So we'll keep an eye on it. If any other information, if I can find any other information regarding this case, I will bring it to you. Finally, we have Barbara Ann Blount. Miss Blount went missing on May 2nd, 2008 from Livingston Parish, Louisiana. Once again, endangered missing, white female. She was 58 years old at the time she disappeared. She will be 74 today. At the time she disappeared, she was 5'5" to 5'7", 135 to 150 pounds. She was last seen shorts and a tank top. She had graying brown hair, hazel eyes. Her maiden name is Barber, and she was wearing glasses and her ears are pierced. Barbara was last heard from at 11:30 a.m. on May 2nd, 2008, when a neighbor spoke to her via telephone at her residence in the 388,000 block of State Highway 1036 in rural Livingston Parish, Louisiana. She said she was cleaning out her kitchen cabinets, and after that, she has never been heard from again. When her nephew checked her house, the front door was wide open, the windows were open, and Barbara's phone was lying on the floor with the battery pulled out. Pots were stacked on the kitchen floor. Valuables were left out in plain view, and it did not appear that there had been a robbery. Her silver four-door 2006 Toyota Camry was found parked in an abandoned it's not written very well, in an abandoned about a quarter of a mile from her home at 4:15 p.m. the day of her disappearance. It had been parked on a dirt logging road on the property of a hunting club, 25 or 30 yards off the main road and out of sight, hidden by trees. There was water on the floor of the vehicle, possibly from the heavy rains that had occurred in the area. The car keys were half buried in the gravel about 20 yards from the car. A witness reported having seen a woman matching Barbara's description standing outside of Barbara's car that day wearing a tank top, pinstripe shorts, and purple Crocs. There was a Caucasian man standing near her, and a late model white pickup truck was parked nearby. The witness was so troubled by the frightened expression on Barbara's face that he did call Crime Stoppers. Barbara is a widow and lived alone at the time of her disappearance, but she kept in regular touch with her relatives, and her disappearance is out of character. Her two children lived on the same road as Barbara did, and she still cooked dinner for them every day, as well as driving her sister to medical appointments. It says she lived quietly and she was active in her local church. She is described as a cautious individual who did not open her door to strangers. Very important to note that. She did carry a firearm when she went outside to milk her cows. Her credit cards have not been used since she went missing. Investigators believe she was taken against her will. And there is a theory that her disappearance is related to the June 2004 death of her husband, 55-year-old Henry Yule Blount Jr. He had passed away when he was struck by a train while driving a gasoline tanker truck over the tracks. 2 railroad employees were also killed in the accident, and members of the locomotive union blamed Junior, her husband, for it, and said the 2 railroad employees had been, quote, red-rummed, and it is unclear whether the accident is tied to Barbara's disappearance almost 4 years later. However, foul play obviously is suspected in Barbara's disappearance. but little evidence is available in her case and it remains unsolved. So if you have any information in Barbara's disappearance, please call the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office at 225-938-4323. And I do have a couple of articles regarding Barbara's case. Let me get those pulled up. The first one is an interview with her family. This first article is from September of 2023. 15 years after Barbara Blount disappeared, her family still wonders who is behind the disappearance of a beloved family member who vanished from her home. The 58-year-old has been legally declared deceased, but her family still has no idea what happened to her. Christmases in Louisiana have been much bluer since Suzanne Honeycutt's beloved Aunt Barbara disappeared. You know, the old Christmas carol, Bells Will Be Ringing. Well, that song always reminds me of her. I think Barbara Ann was probably about 19 at the time, and every time I hear that song, in fact, I would call her when I'd hear it on the radio, Honeycutt said. I would call her up and say, Barbara Ann, our song is on. Honeycutt said Blount wasn't the type of woman who would disappear. First and foremost, she loved God. She was a very good, strong woman of faith. She loved her children and her family, she said. Honeycutt said her aunt was the type of woman who raised her family with high standards. She raised them to be good, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens and, to pay your bills and to do the right thing and work hard, Honeycutt said. In addition to raising her family, Blount had many hobbies, like teaching Bible study, gardening, and raising cattle. She'd be hauling 5-pound buckets of feed to the cows and also feeding the fish in her ponds. She was a strong lady overall, Honeycutt said. That's one of the many reasons her family still can't wrap their head around how Blount could be missing for 15 years. On May 2nd, 2008, Blount planned to take advantage of a beautiful day, cleaning and organizing her kitchen. She wore a tank top, shorts, and purple LSU Crocs. Blount's daughter stopped by the house in the morning on her way to work. She saw her mom and said, okay, I'll check in with you later. I'll call you later, Honeycutt said. But just hours later, no one could reach Blount. When a family member went to the home, they knew something was wrong. The door was left open 6 to 10 inches, and her cordless home phone was out on the carport, Honeycutt said. Nothing was gone but her. Major Ben Bourgeois was one of the police who responded immediately. There were no signs of forced entry. There were no signs inside the residence of any kind of struggle, Bourgeois said. Bourgeois and Sheriff Jason Ard said police were already investigating another suspicious call after someone reported a vehicle in the woods. That car turned out to be Blount's silver Toyota parked in the woods off a hunting club road. Blount's keys were found lying on the gravel road beside the car. I believe it said in the basic information I read earlier that they were found around 20 feet from the car, buried in the gravel. Bourgeois said for a nice, clean, well-maintained vehicle like that to be parked off into the woods on a hunting club road was just very suspicious and out of place. By the time police were able to get a tow truck to bring the car in for the investigation, a downpour of rain had compromised the evidence. Bourgeois said there was an inch of water in the floorboard of the vehicle, so that's how much rain had come just in that few hours. At Blount's home, police found things undisturbed. Among the belongings left behind were her glasses, cell phone, and even her firearms. Honeycutt said when they took her on, when they lured her away, it was for her and no one else. The only signs of a possible struggle was in the carport. A Blount's cordless landline phone was found on the ground with the battery pulled out. Police said it is difficult to link any of that to foul play. Definitely red flaggy, though, in my opinion. But let me know in chat who's watching the premiere, or if you're watching the replay, please leave a comment. Investigators noted that there were many ways that the phone could be damaged. She could have dropped it out of being startled. She could have dropped it out of a struggle. You know, one of the dogs could have knocked it off the counter. I mean, we really don't know. Ard said. The Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office pored over Blount's cell phone and landline records, but found nothing out of the ordinary. The family has also asked investigators to look into any links to Blount's husband's death. As we talked about earlier, he was killed in an explosion in 2004 when a freight train hit his tanker truck. Honeycutt said they have asked the sheriff's department to investigate if there could be a connection. As for other possible relationships, the family and police have said there was no evidence that Blount was dating anyone at the time of her disappearance. In recent years, the sheriff's office also got another tip which they ruled out. A couple from Alabama came forward saying they believed that they saw Blount where her car was found in 2008. And the couple claimed that she was speaking with a man in a pickup truck. We also talked about that earlier. Investigators looked into it and believe the couple actually saw the witness who found Blount's vehicle. We believe that that is the same person they saw whenever they were passing through going to Alabama, Bourgeois said. But police said within the last few months they've had a new lead on the case. And we just want to stick to the facts, but I think we are going to solve it, Bourgeois said. The information may not lead to a happy ending. Ard said, I believe that her life was taken in a homicide. He said that's obvious to us, but questions remain. If Blount was the victim of a homicide, how did it happen and who did it? Honeycutt hopes the newest information will lead to closure. Just because whoever did this doesn't feel guilty about it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean that we're going to give up, she said. You're going to have to answer to God one day. For the family, years of not knowing what happened to Blount has taken a toll. Honeycutt's mother and Blount's sister, Sarah, sorry, everything jumped on me. Sarah Bauman now has dementia. But even now, she still remembers her sister is missing. We're still praying God will give us peace and let us understand and know what happened to her. She was a loving sister and we were very close, Bauman said. No matter how many years Blount has been missing, the family still want police to determine what happened and who is responsible. We've never given up hope and we never will, Honeycutt said. So that is the interview with her family. And also have a more recent article with the sheriff. This article is from May of 2024. Sheriff hopeful for answers 16 years after Barbara Blount's disappearance. After 16 years, deputies believe they are close to finding an answer on what happened to Barbara Blount. She was 58 when she mysteriously disappeared from her home in Holden on May 2nd, 2008. Blount's family said there were no signs of forced entry and her silver Toyota was abandoned down the road. After she disappeared, a search team used dogs, helicopters, and four-wheelers to look for her, but months turned into years and Barbara was never found. In 2015, Blount's daughter, Christy Thompson, spoke with WBRZ about her mother's disappearance. I remember calling and she wouldn't answer the phone and it was just chaotic, she said. Somebody did something to her because she wouldn't just get up and leave without telling anybody where she's going. Last May, Livingston Parish Sheriff Jason Ard said on social media the investigation into the missing persons case may finally have a lead. A year later, he says there is hope. He says, quote, "We're going to continue to look into these leads as we get them, but I do feel pretty good about the one we have. We haven't completely finished that part of it yet, but it's just taking us a little longer than we hoped for, but it's still there and we're still going through the process." Former investigator Woody Overton, who hosts a podcast called Real Life, Real Crime, detailed what happened to Barbara on his show. He also assisted in getting leads in the case. He says it's just a tragedy of investigative events that occurred since Miss Barbara. I'm going to just say it. She was red rummed because no, she didn't just disappear. I'm telling you, she was the victim of a homicide. And Overton told WBRZ. Once again, anyone with information about Barbara Blount's disappearance should contact the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office at 225-686-2241 or Capital Region Crime Stoppers at 225-344-STOP, which is 225-344-7867. All right, guys, those were our 6 missing persons cases today, all from Louisiana. Thank you so much for watching. Please, before you leave, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Hit the like button on your way out. Leave a comment. If you're watching replay, share. That is the most important thing you can do. With these videos, missing persons, cold cases that I share them anywhere and everywhere you can to as many people as possible, and hopefully we can do our little part here to get the word out, keep the awareness out, keep their faces out there so that they are never forgotten. So until next time, take care of yourselves. Be careful out there. Take care of each other. That is the most important thing we can do, is take care of our fellow human being. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.